My daughter stood at the doorway with her arms folded like she was an officer inspecting a crime scene. Her nose curled, her lips twisted in disgust, and then she said it. "Your room stinks, Mom." The way she said Mom felt less like love and more like an annoyance. She did not whisper it. She did not say it softly out of concern. She projected it loud enough for her husband, her 2 teenage children, and even the neighbors outside to hear. Her daughter, Melanie, the child I had raised with my bare hands, the child I had fed while working double shifts at the nursing home, looked at me like I was trash that had wandered into her perfect suburban hallway. Her husband, Greg, smirked without even trying to hide it. My grandchildren, Elise and Brandon, giggled like they were in on a joke. I could still smell the lavender detergent on the laundry basket I was holding, and yet all I could feel was shame crawling across my skin. I tried to say something, but the words drowned in the humiliation swelling in my chest. Then she added the dagger. "You are too old to be living like this. Maybe it is time you moved into a retirement facility. Or maybe you should start paying rent if you're going to stay here." That was when I knew something inside me had shifted. Something deep. Something final. She thought I was weak. She thought I was stuck. She had no idea what I was capable of. She had no idea what I still controlled. And soon she would learn. Before I continue, I want to say a big thank you to every single one of you watching this right now. To all my returning viewers, thank you for always supporting this channel. And to the new ones who just found me, I am so happy you are here. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button because that is the fuel that powers this channel and keeps stories like this coming. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments as we go along. I read every single one of them. Now let us get back to where this storm truly began. My name is Vivian, and I am 61 years old, born and raised in Illinois. I was never a wealthy woman, but I was a hard-working one. I had one daughter, Melanie, and she was my world. I raised her alone after her father walked out when she was 6. I worked mornings at a diner and nights at a nursing home. I saved every penny I could, not for myself, but for her future. When she married Greg, I gave them everything I could, $75,000 from my savings, hoping it would help them buy their first home. I did not take vacations. I did not buy luxury. I lived in modest apartments, secondhand furniture, and clearance rack clothing. All because I believed that one day Melanie would look at me with pride. Instead, she looked at me with disgust. I had moved into her guest room a few months ago after my landlord raised the rent beyond what I could afford. I cleaned her house, I cooked her meals, I watched her children. I thought I was helping. I thought I was loved. But in that moment, standing in that hallway, with her words slicing me open, I realized something. I was not family to her. I was a burden. Or at least she thought so. She had no idea that the inheritance left behind by my parents was still in my possession, an inheritance that she assumed would be hers one day. But that day, I made a decision. It would never be hers. That night, long after Melanie and her family had gone to bed, I sat alone at the kitchen table. The house was silent, but my mind was loud. I kept replaying her words in my head. "Your room stinks. Maybe you should move into a retirement facility. Start paying rent if you are going to stay here." Every sentence echoed like a slap. I looked at my hands resting on the table. They were not the hands of an old woman. They were warrior hands. These hands had scrubbed floors at 3 a.m. while everyone slept. These hands had carried crates and trays and laundry baskets. These hands had held feverish children, bathed my dying mother, and cooked meals even when my own stomach was empty. And she dared to speak to me like I was rotting wood she could not wait to throw out. But let me tell you something. Ungrateful children forget. Mothers do not. I leaned back and closed my eyes, and memories came flooding in like a river bursting through a dam. I remember standing in the freezing rain, waiting for a bus after a 12-hour shift because I could not afford a car. I remember soaking my feet in ice water to numb the pain so I could go back and work another shift. I remember skipping meals so Melanie could have lunch money. I remember crying in the bathroom silently so she would not see. I remember smiling when she graduated, feeling like every sacrifice was worth it. And now? Now she could not stand the smell of my presence in her hallway. I wiped a tear that had slipped down my cheek, not from sadness, from realization. I had spent my entire life giving. It was time I started taking back. At 2:17 a.m., I walked quietly to the small desk in the corner of the living room where I kept my documents. I opened the drawer and pulled out a black folder I had not touched in years. My breath steadied as I flipped through the pages. The will of Henry and Loretta Anderson, my parents. I was their only child, so they had left everything to me. A small house that had been sold years ago, 2 antique coin collections, and 1 inheritance account that had matured over decades. I had saved it for Melanie. I had told her many times, one day, this will help you more than you know. Well, now I knew better. That inheritance belonged to me, not to her entitlement. The next morning, I made myself a cup of coffee. Melanie walked past me without saying a word. Greg nodded at me like I was the mailman. The children did not even look at me. And that was when I decided I would not wait any longer. At 9:43 a.m., I went down to the bank. I walked in wearing the same old coat with a missing button and the shoes with worn-out soles. People looked past me like I was invisible. But when I handed the banker the documents and she pulled up the account, her eyes widened. She looked at me differently. "Mrs. Anderson, do you want to transfer the entire balance?" she asked. I smiled calmly. Yes. I signed the papers. My fingers did not shake. $312,000 gone from that account, back into my hands, into my future. When I returned home, Melanie was in the kitchen scrolling on her phone. She barely glanced at me. "Don't forget to wash the dishes later," she muttered. I looked at her for a long moment. Not with anger, not with sorrow, with clarity. I said softly, "I will be gone soon." She shrugged like she didn't even care. But she would. Oh, she definitely would. Because she thought I was too old to fight back. But she had no idea what I was about to do next. I did not pack dramatically. I did not slam doors or make announcements. I moved quietly, like a ghost reclaiming her body. 2 days after transferring the inheritance, I awoke before sunrise, folded my clothes into 1 suitcase, and placed my most important documents inside my handbag. No speeches, no confrontation, no goodbyes. At 6:12 a.m., while the house was still asleep, I placed my key on the kitchen counter with a yellow sticky note that read, "Thank you for your hospitality. You will not have to worry about my room any longer. Mom." I walked out without looking back. I went straight to a hotel in downtown Chicago. For the first time in years, I opened the curtains and looked at the city not as a tired mother, but as a free woman with power in her hands. For 3 days, I toured houses. I saw small ones, big ones, old ones, new ones. Some were grand but cold. Some were charming but cramped. None of them felt right. Until I found it. A single-story lakefront home in Lake Geneva, just outside Illinois. It had wide glass windows, polished wooden floors, a fireplace made of river stones, and a balcony overlooking peaceful water. The realtor kept talking about square footage and property value. I did not hear a word. All I saw was peace. All I smelled was freedom. I signed the purchase papers on the spot. Paid in full. No mortgage, no permission needed, no child holding it above my head. Mine. 2 hours later, my phone rang for the first time. Melanie. I let it ring. 5 minutes later, another call, then a text. Melanie, Mom, where are you? Why is your room empty? This is not funny. Greg thinks you ran away or something. Please respond. I did not. The fourth call came from Greg. Ignored. Then came the fifth call from an unknown number. I answered. This is Officer Daniels, a formal male voice asked. Yes, I replied evenly. Your daughter reported you missing. I almost laughed. Missing? No, I was found. Officer, I said calmly, I am perfectly fine. Kindly inform my daughter that I will reach out when I am ready. There was a pause. Do you want me to tell her where you are? I stared at the calm waters outside my balcony. No. I hung up. But peace does not sit quietly for long, not when entitlement is chasing it. 1 week after moving in, I heard tires screeching outside my home. I stepped onto the porch just in time to see Melanie storming toward me, face red, hand shaking. Behind her, Greg stood by their SUV, arms folded like a prison guard. She did not say hello. She did not ask how I was. She screamed, "Did you take the inheritance money?" Her voice cracked with panic, not grief, not worry, fear. I watched her for a moment. She looked less like my daughter and more like someone discovering their power had been cut. I did, I said. Why? That money was supposed to be mine. A silence fell between us like a thundercloud. I stepped forward slowly. My voice was calm, too calm. That money was mine. It always was. I worked, I saved, I inherited. You assumed. You never asked. Her lip trembled. You had no right. No, I corrected her softly. You had no right to treat me like I was disposable. She was breathing hard. Tears filled her eyes, but not from remorse, from loss. But just when I thought I'd seen it all, she said something that made my blood run cold. Mom, you don't understand. I needed that money. I was going to use it to fix something. I frowned. Fix what? She hesitated. She looked over her shoulder at Greg. Then she whispered, "Something you are not supposed to know." Her voice trembled when she said it. Something you are not supposed to know. I stared at her. My breath slowed, my heartbeat steadied. It was not fear. It was recognition. I had heard that tone before. Not from her lips, but from others I had cared for in my years at the nursing home. A tone that mixed desperation and secrecy. What did you need the money for? I asked quietly. She looked at Greg. He refused to meet her eyes. He stared down at his shoes like they were more interesting than the house his mother-in-law had just bought with the inheritance he had been counting on. Melanie inhaled slowly. Then, Greg is in debt. Not small debt, gambling debt. Hundreds of thousands. He borrowed from people who are not patient. I held up a hand. I had heard enough. So that was it. They did not want to help me. They did not care if I lived well or rotted in silence. They just needed my money to clean up their dirty secrets. I looked at Greg. His cheeks burned with shame, or maybe anger that I now knew the truth. Is that why you let your wife humiliate me? I asked him coldly. Because in your mind, I was already just a solution? He said nothing. Guilt was heavy in the silence between us. Melanie reached for me suddenly. Mom, please, you have to understand. I was freaking out. I did not mean what I said about your room or sending you away. Things have been hard. You were just in the way. In the way. That was worse than the insult. That was truth. She had spoken from instinct, not anger. I nodded slowly. I understand. Her face lit with relief. She thought she had won me back. Then I added quietly, and that is exactly why you will not be seeing a single cent. Her mouth gaped. Mom! No, I said firmly. I gave you everything in my life. My youth, my strength, my time, my savings, my love. And you gave me disrespect. So no, Melanie, I will not fund your husband's addictions. I will not pay for your silence. I will not buy back love that should have already been mine. She burst into tears. She fell to her knees. It should have broken me. Once upon a time, it would have. But pain has a way of hardening into wisdom. She clutched my hand like a child again. Please, please, Mom, they might come after us. I do not know what to do. I leaned down, lifted her chin, and held her face in my hands like I used to. Then I whispered, Then you will finally learn what I learned at your age. She blinked through tears. What? I stepped back and said with steady grace, You will survive without help. Greg finally spoke. You cannot just abandon your daughter. I turned slowly and met his eyes. I did not abandon her. She abandoned me first. I walked toward the front door. I did not slam it. I did not lock it. I simply closed it. And for the first time in my life, I did not feel like a mother being left behind. I felt like a woman moving forward. To every mother watching this, listen closely. You are not a retirement plan. You are not a backup wallet. You are not a burden. If your children forget your worth, do not remind them with words. Remind them with distance. Because sometimes leaving is not betrayal. It's protection. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my place? Should I have forgiven her? Or did I finally do the right thing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. This is Vivian, and I finally chose myself.